Hello, good evening. Hello, hello. I hope you are all having a beautiful morning, afternoon, or night, wherever you are in the world. Well, welcome. I am on time today. Normally I leave people for 10 minutes to join, but I've decided that I'm going to start trying to put on the waiting for live stream 5 minutes before the stream and actually start at 6 o'clock. Here's. I'm not sure if this will maintain or not. It's taken me all these years to realize that I have to begin to sit down to do the stream at 5:30, not 5:45. Normally I start about 5:45, but then there's always something that happens. Yes. Okay. And I don't know why there is a picture of the dogs coming up. That's weird. I didn't do that. It just did it and I didn't know how to change it. Yeah, okay. So I always like to begin these talks by telling you a couple of things. So if this is the first time you've joined the stream, then you chat to me through Skype. My Skype address is Cairns12 and you find it in the box below. And you send me a friend request and you can either write a message or you can ask to call in. And if you ask to call in, please make sure you've got a headset and a good internet connection and that you're in a quiet location. So you're not in like a busy cafe or something. Yeah. What else? Yeah, and for the sessions, I've begun to change doing my sessions. So I'm just going to work with people more regularly rather than having people book on my website. So if you want to work with me more regularly, then you can be put on the waiting list. But the waiting list is pretty long, so that's not going to be this year that happens. And then it looks like I might be doing a retreat next year from the 25th of August to the 1st of September in Germany. But we're still like finalizing the details and trying to work out these exceptions in the contract with coronavirus. Oops, with the C word. You're getting extra inspection if you say that in your talks. Yeah, so fingers crossed. I haven't done one for 2 years. I'm super excited to do one again. Yes. What else? That is all, I think. So I always like to start the talk with sitting silently. And you're welcome to join me. I'm going to try to put in the box below, like you can click a link that fast forwards you to the time when I start the introduction. So I normally do meditation for the first 10-15 minutes, and then you can click the link and it will take you to where I start talking. Yeah, sorry, this electrocutes me slightly. Yeah, I'm very sensitive to electricity. Okay, so you can do anything you like in meditation. I just call it meditation because it is a name to call it. And basically, what I'm doing is just sitting quietly and allowing my mind to rest. But you can do anything you like. There is some suggestions that I can give if you don't want to just sit quietly and let your mind rest. You could do the mindfulness of breathing, which is basically counting every time you breathe in all the way up to 10 and then repeating this. And then when you get to 10, you start again. That's one. The other exercise that you could do is moving your attention back to the I am. Just keep moving it back to this moment. So really feeling what's happening in this moment. And the great thing about meditating and doing these things, like it really saved my life when I was in my early 20s, is that it really settles down the mind and the person. Not for everybody. There are some exceptions where meditating makes you more... If you've got a high functioning mind, then there's a good chance the meditation isn't for you. And then maybe doing something physical like yoga is better. But for a lot of people, like focusing the mind, it stops the mind, going off into default ways of thinking and chattering for long periods of time. What I'm talking about, though, is not about you being present. So it's deeper than that. But often this is taught in the beginning in order to focus the person and help balance the person more. And it's a beautiful exercise and it's wonderful. And I know it contradicts this idea of who is going to do it though, Lisa? Who? But there is an appearance of someone with choice. And just as if I gave you a recipe to bake a cake, you could follow the recipe and you wouldn't be like going, who's following the recipe? Who's following the recipe? But it's seeing that there is an appearance of doership, but there is nobody doing. Wonderful. Okay. We shall beginning. Welcome back. Yes. Okay, so we so Lara asks, so will you start the next stream at 6 o'clock, starting to speak? No, I will still speak at like 20 past. But I'll start the stream as in the me coming on and meditating. Normally I wait 5-10 minutes with the music first. Okay, so let's begin. I have to remember what the name of the talk is. The end of the road. You hear a lot of teachers say the end of the road. So I thought we could talk about what the end of the road means in non-duality terms. Okay, so now I do, like, if you're new to it, I do about 15-20 minutes introduction, and then I do questions and answers on Skype. So you can send me a question through Skype. My Skype address is Lisa Cairns 12. And yeah, you can write a question or you can call in, but if you want to call in, just call me after, don't put anything else, and then I can see it in the chat. Don't put anything after it. And make sure you've got a headset with good internet connections and a quiet space to call. Hey Carla, sending you lots of love too. Okay. So my assumption is when people say the end of the road, in terms of spirituality, is the end of seeking. So there's no place left to go. So often when they talk about the end of the road with non-duality, there is nowhere left for you to get to. Although that's not how the person feels often with non-duality. They feel like there is loads of places left to get to. And they like to imagine lots of things. But when it's really seen that this is what you are, that this moment is what you are, that this is everything you've ever wanted, then there is a dropping of seeking. Like nothing in this life makes you happy. Nothing in this life makes you happy. What makes you happy is freedom, and freedom is what you are now. It's the movement of attention from the person moving in time to that which is still in this experience, to that which is always here in this experience. It's not a doing as such. It's a collapsing back into this moment, to what has always been here. The reason that humans suffer is because they identify with their thoughts going in time, with their ideas, but they are not truth. So they identify with I need a better house. I need a bigger apartment. I need more books. I need more money. I need to be safe. I need not for bad things to happen. That's a weird way to say it. I need to not experience bad things. I need to not be in trouble. I need to not get ill. So there is this identification with the time, and then the belief that time is going to give you what you want, whereas time's never going to get you what you want. Even the idea that if you clear your emotions, if you clear your chakras, that you will arrive at what you want, that's also not true. When the chakras are really dense, and when there's lots of pain in the body because there's lots of it's very dense, often there can't be a hearing of this because there's so much of a focus on the pain. It's like if somebody was like hammering my arm now, like, and I didn't know non-duality, and then they're telling you like this moment is perfect, you're like, fuck, like, so you're so focused on the pain in the arm. And that's the same with the chakras. The reason that the chakras become unbalanced is the combination between your thoughts and your habits and your conditioning. So it's the way in which you think about yourself. And separation makes you think about yourself in weird ways. But a lot of people are continuously throughout the day having negative thoughts, which make the chakras go into the negative, like that person doesn't like me, or I'm not good enough, they're better than me, or I've done something wrong, people are going to be angry with me, or I'm afraid, the apartment's messy. So they're not focusing on the positive thoughts which make the chakra grow, like the apartment is amazing, I love this world, I live in an amazing place, the trees are great, the sunflowers are beautiful. They're focusing on the negative because it's not natural for the mind, but it's kind of like the evolution of the mind, and then the conditioning of humanity. And then also when you separate, there always feels like there's something wrong. So when separation happens, you kind of feel like you're missing something, and then as you grow through time, you have more and more focus on the negative, and then the chakras contract more and more. So if you're having thoughts like I'm not good enough, then not more than likely your heart chakra will be contracting. Or nobody likes me, your heart chakra will be contracting. Or that person is going to hurt me, then your sacral chakra will be contracting. This life is scary, then your base chakra will be closing. Life is totally chaotic, everything's chaotic. The sacral chakra, nobody hears me, the throat chakra. An issue with like empathy or creative thinking, like too much thinking or too little thinking, can create contraction around the head, and then not connection to something else can create contraction up here. And that's not the same as non-duality. So often in teachings, they teach that if you align all the chakras, then you will become enlightened. I can see that happening in a way, because you align all the chakras, and then the pain disappears, and then maybe you become really present. But that doesn't always have to be the way. Like I can see how that teaching came about, but that's not the way of jnana yoga, what I teach, like wisdom yoga. So, but it doesn't have to be that way. Like I've met people with very open chakras, but they really don't have this knowing of who they are. So, or they don't have that shift. So they're very balanced in the human world, but they don't have that shift to something greater. So what's being talked about here is it's like perception shifts around from being focused in on the person to expanding into what is. So it's like the consciousness, which is watching everything, stops being behind and kind of like identified with the person, sort of behind here, and then like sucked into the person. So there's no separation. First of all, it sometimes moves backwards, but then it kind of like moves forward into everything. And this is an energetic awakening, and it's the end of seeking. It's deeply relaxing when that is seen. It's not, I still have old seeking patterns come up. So if something, triggers me in my daily life, like my character can do old seeking patterns, but the shift really is like the end of seeking. Like there's not a belief in these seeking patterns, they're just habits. And that, to me, at first I didn't really understand it, and at first they were very faint because it was so big at first that I didn't really perceive these old seeking patterns. But then through time there's been a realization that this integrates more and more into the human body through time. So like when there was first the shift, like over 10 years ago now, there was like amazingly like conscious stuff, like I never would have thought this, like happening in Lisa that wasn't perceived. I think you will always have unconscious stuff, because it might be impossible to ever be fully conscious. So that integrates and becomes more and more expanded. And what I mean by unconscious stuff is like ways of being or habits that aren't fully in line with everything being oneness. So they're not fully being expanded. And my experience is through time, life brings up these dynamics through experiences and allows that energy to expand them. So the human becomes more in line with that. But it might be like an endless process, because like human society and human beings have got so much they could possibly evolve to. So I don't know if there's ever an end point to that. When you look at the nature of life, there's never an end point to anything. So the end of the road, the meaning of that means this recognition that all that's wanted is this moment, baby. This moment. Yeah. I keep seeing my eyes go. It's the birds. It's nice sitting. I don't normally sit this way, but it's nice sitting this way because you get to see the sky, looking up at the sky, and some sunflowers. So in these talks, like what's the point of these talks if non-duality is the end of the road? Like in these talks, it's remembering that. And that you could say is the practice of this vocal, what people call satsang, is meeting in truth. It's like it's spoken from that place, it's spoken from presence, and there is a resonance that happens. Like a tuning, like two musical instruments coming in tune together. So it's recognized, like it's being spoken, and then there is a recognition of it. There's also like an intellectual recognition that can happen, and words that can help soothe and calm down the person as well. But that's not the most important part. The most important part is this resonance, where your whole body, you might realize this sometimes happen, your whole body like tingles as it's being spoken. Like often when I hear non-duality being spoken, it's like love bombs being sent through the body. Bomb, 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 bomb. Yes. Let me just check that my audio and everything is working. Yeah. Yeah, so someone just put truth bombs, love bombs, truth bombs. Truth, truth, truth. It's nice, that word, truth. It can be very elusive though, because ultimately there is no truth. So the mind can like this idea of truth, like finding truth, especially in a society at the moment that's like so overwhelmed with information. When I was younger, I remember saying to my dad, you know, the internet's going to liberate everybody, because the more that people get information, the more they'll free themselves. And I realized that was not true at all. Yeah. So the more information, it seems like the more polarized people become, and more like rigid in their beliefs they become. Funny, eh? He is. So on the human level, there can be all types of dynamics going on in relationship to this message. Like, you can be interested in non-duality because there's a resonance with it, but there can also be because there's a superiority that comes with it. Like, sometimes when people are needing help in life, they go to non-duality because it's like this idea of enlightenment. So it's like this grand idea. So rather than admitting they need help, like, in being more humble, there can be this grandiosity that comes with it. Like, so you get into this new subject and then it's like, oh, I'm going to get enlightened now, and it becomes a new badge. There can also be this idea of being saved. So it depends on the personality type. Like, there might be personality that's desperate for love from mother or father, or to be saved, or didn't have like that unconditional love from the mother and the father, so therefore they're always looking for that unconditioned love, and then projecting that onto non-duality teachers, the Buddha, Ramana Maharshi, like all these idols, and then believing that they can give you unconditioned love. So looking for this unconditioned parental love in the other to make them feel safe. So there can be that, and there's nothing wrong with this. There can also be shame when I say this that arises, and then you think, oh, I'm doing something wrong. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with feeling these things. Like, the trick to it is acceptance. So it's the trick to it is to accept the shadow of the ego, to accept its negative side. Like, so I'm here because I like the idea of being enlightened. Like, so just admitting that to yourself if you have that dynamic going on. But it might not appear as that. You have to really feel into your body to get down to it. Like, so you're like, no, no. Like, I often point things out to people and their first response is no, no, no. And then a year later, after working with them, they say it, but on their own terms. Like, it's very hard to admit to yourself because there's deep shame around the self. Like, I am a bad person. But it's not. Pointing out these things isn't about making you a bad person. It's just seeing it so that you don't run from it. So it's like, I want to be better than everyone else. I want to be enlightened. Just feeling that and feeling that vulnerability in the body. I want to be better than other people. I want to know more than other people. Just feeling that. That's okay. I want to compete against them. I want to be more loved than them. That's very child thoughts that arise. That's totally okay. Just feeling that in the heart or in the throat. I want you to love me. I want to be better than all the other kids. Just being with that. And then noticing that that's not who you are. There's something that's watching that's totally at peace. That energy that's saying I want to be better is like a seeking energy. It's like not contented. Just seeing that that's there. It doesn't always have to be a seeking energy, that idea. It can just be old ideas that arise. But just feeling it. We're very much conditioned to compete. And then there's this empty looking that happens. And this empty looking is unaffected by anything. These thoughts and feelings happen in that. And the empty looking is vast and spacious and free and totally contented. It's like the ego, or this dynamic of the human, it's like just seeing that it has all these wrong ideas, that if I am better than other people, I will be free. If I'm more enlightened than others, I will be free. If I'm superior to others, I will be free. If somebody loves me, I will be free. If I'm not alone, I will be free. And just feeling that coming up in the body and really knowing that that's not true. This moment, the empty looking, is the freedom. It's the freedom. It's the end of the road, the absolute freedom. So beautiful. This pure, empty looking and this sense of being. And they're one and the same thing, really. This emptiness of looking. There's nobody looking out of your eyes. And this sense of I am, but not I am anything. You could call the I am part love. And they're both don't belong to the person. So it's not I am sad. It's there is this empty looking and I amness, and then sadness arises in that. But these two dynamics are free. They are free. They are free. There isn't something looking out of your eyes. There isn't something listening to me. There isn't something here speaking. It's all appearing from this moment, which is endless and vast. Okay, we go to questions now. Yeah, so if you've got a question, then put it in Skype. My Skype address is Lisa Cairns 12. And if you want to call me, please put call me with nothing else after it. Gina. Okay. Good morning, Lisa. I'm not so good with Skype. Sorry, I accidentally called you. No worries. I will stick with writing my question. When my daughters are not with me, do they still exist? When one says, this is all there is, does that mean if they are not appearing in awareness, like right now, they don't exist? Hey, Gina, that's such a good question. And I'm sure it's quite scary for some people as well. So what's your experience? When your children are with you, do they or don't they exist? Did I say not with you? So when your children are not with you, do they or don't they exist? What is your experience there? So everyone can do that. If you don't have children, then you can use other family members. So ask yourself this question. If my family are not with me, do they or don't they exist? So a friend of mine once told me he had 2 kids, 7 years apart. And he told me that with both kids, he witnessed them go through the same dynamic where they, first of all, had a toy, and they'd just look at the toy, interested in the toy. Then they would look at the toy and throw the toy on the floor, look at the toy, throw the toy on the floor. Then they would look at the toy, throw the toy over the head, and over the head, then over the head. Then, eventually, this is like at 1 year old or 1.5, they would turn around and look at the toy, throw it over the head, and look at the toy. Then the next and the last stage is they would throw the toy over the head and then cry because they no longer had it. So what happened in that process is the brain learnt or registered that it exists when I don't see it. In the beginning, when the baby threw it over the head, it didn't have that sense that the toy exists when I don't look at it. It didn't perceive that. But at some point, the brain registered that it was there by checking. So that's a really interesting these parts. So when the baby, at first, when the baby chucked the toy, it was gone. And it was not there, it was gone and did not exist. But then the baby could remember that it was behind it and then cried because it could imagine not having the toy. So this is a big human suffering, is that we have all this imagination of all these other things that are out there. So we've got England, America, Australia, India, Kazakhstan, Russia, the sea, the ocean, the moon, the galaxy, the universe, stars, sun. We have all these things that exist in our imagination. So we can imagine that there is Australia right now. So most people won't be watching from Australia because it's really bad time for them. It's like 3 a.m. for some, between maybe 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. I'm not sure of their time zone, but they're in front of us. So we can all imagine that there's Australia and that people live in Australia. And we can all imagine that there's other people watching this now. So that's what happens, is that we sit here and we imagine this Australia. And it creates a lot of suffering, this imagination of other. But what's your actual experience? Right now, does Australia exist for you? So maybe if in Google Chat, YouTube Chat, you can say whether it exists or not. I presume they're in quite the same time. There is somebody from Australia watching, us represented right here. So is there anyone that can answer that question? Does Australia exist now to you? Does Australia exist? And the answer is no. Australia does not exist to you now. Australia is only an imagination. So, with your kids, do they exist when you don't see them? And the answer is no. They only exist as an imagination. They're only as a thought or a concept. So when your kids leave your presence, they're only a thought or a concept. For a lot of people, when the kids are in front of you, or the family members in front of you, you're only seeing them actually as a thought or concept. You're not actually truly seeing them. So when there's identification, you're not actually normally truly seeing them. It's like a thought or an imagination that you're seeing. And this is when you don't really love the person, when you see them as a thought and imagination, because you're not seeing them for who they truly are, and you're seeing them for conditions which fit with your conditions. So you've got an idea of who you are, and then an idea of who they are in relationship to you, and you're not really seeing them for what they are. So for example, somebody told me the other day that I was the most worrying person that they had ever met. Like that I worried loads. And when they said it, it hurt that they said it. But instantly I knew that what they were saying really was that when I often spoke to them, there was worry that arose for them. And their mind was instantly projecting it onto me. Like I know without doubt that I'm not that. This character isn't that. So that's how they saw me, is a warrior, because what happened in them, that's called projective identification. Not everyone does that, but it's they have a feeling or an emotion, and then they see the object of that feeling or emotion. In a way, everybody does that, but some people realize they're doing that and don't just totally believe it. So, and I can understand that I am in that way the most worrying person they've ever met. I've known them since childhood, and I can understand that I create sometimes a lot of anxiety in them, just because I don't follow the norms of life. And so my ideas can create anxiety, or my way of being can create anxiety to them. And then you can have the polarizing view, so you can have someone else that comes to these talks and has many awakenings and then sees me as absolute love. And again, they then believe that's me, and it's not true. It's that they're beginning to see without the filters on. So with your children, Gina, you might actually not be seeing them for who they truly are when you're with them. So when you're with them, you might be seeing them as your imagination of them. You'll only ever truly meet your children and know your children when you're here in this moment as consciousness, when they are recognized for who they are, which is unconditioned love. And then the other part is secondary, the way in which their body has habits and conditions and ideas. But those do not make a person. Those are habits and dynamics that are ever evolving and changing and appearing and disappearing. And by the time you've grabbed them and thought about it, they've changed. Don't you ever notice that, like, when someone upsets you, you see them completely different to when they make you happy? Like, so you see them as like almost a different person. Like, so if you feel really scared of someone, you see them as that, and then when they've made you laugh or you feel happy with them, then you see them as that. Yeah, thank you, Gina, for your question. Natalia. Hi, Natalia. Hello, dear Lisa. For me, the recognition of true reality was the beginning of disentanglement of not healthy patterns, which are coming to the surface more freely because I stopped using different substances and compulsive behaviors to cover difficult emotions. Recently, I started to do work of getting to the unconscious thoughts, feelings, energies using Scott Killerby's inquiry, great tools. I even stopped drinking coffee. So now I'm confronting with really not nice emotions, suppressed anger, hatred, fear, and I feel like a hopeless case very often now. I feel a bit confused because I see I was hiding myself from life on my meditation couch, yet sitting even for a few minutes in silence is bringing my mind to peace and feels very grounding. I don't know how to articulate that question. Maybe you would like to refer to this. Thank you. With love, Natalia. Thanks, Natalia, for your question. Yeah, that's super great that you're letting go of all these substances. Yeah, our body is so addicted. So there's two things I would like to say is, like, so all these thoughts and feelings, that's great that they are being embraced and not being repressed. But before I go into talking about the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions that are coming up, just going back to untying them isn't your freedom. And I think you recognize this when there's meditation. The freedom is always this expansiveness. Always this expansiveness. Right here. So who is it that's looking? Who is it that's hearing? Who is it that's seeing? And that's unconditioned love. There is nobody hearing. There is nobody speaking. There is nobody sitting in meditation. There is no world out there. This is freedom. And then what happens when you go into life? Your old seeking patterns get triggered again, particularly because you've given up all these substances. And I know you say you feel a bit like a hopeless case and you don't know what to do, but just what you're doing is letting go and releasing them. It's just that when you're in the mix of that, it's hard to see. So when the anger's coming up, or the frustration, or the sadness or guilt, or whatever it is, then you get lost in that, and then it's hard to see that that is the process. Like really, we're all having the perfect process and the perfect life. So a lot of people's feelings are about regret or a bitterness or a sense of injustice or victimhood, because they believe that they have autonomy and that they're choosing wrongly or others are choosing wrongly. But really that's not true, because just like we said that Australia is an imagination and the whole world is an imagination, it's an imagination that you can choose and that you have to fix yourself. The fixing of yourself is happening. You listen to all these videos, you meditate, and bit by bit it will be undone. Just like if you do exercises every day, bit by bit your health will improve. It's not like you're learning how to become an accountant. So you're listening to these videos, you're asking these questions, so the body is becoming more and more wise. It's learning how to be more wise and more in balance. But it's not really you doing it. And so this pressure on yourself, like, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? Should I go this way? Should I go that way? I am a hopeless case. These are all ideas that aren't true. They're imaginations which cover this, like clouds in a sky. And then you get hooked onto a cloud. That's a nice image, isn't it? Like putting a fishing line up to the sky, hooking onto a cloud. And that's me. That is me. Das ist ich. Das ist nicht ich. Das ist nicht ich. Keine Ich. Ich weiß es nicht. So you're perfect just the way you are, and you're living the perfect life and doing the perfect dance, and you can never, ever, ever get this wrong. Just really hear that. You can't get this wrong. It's not true. And if that is too much to hear, like, feel in your body where that's being resisted. Is it the solar plexus or the heart? I am wrong, I am bad, I am doing this wrong. And just feel that energy in the body, that tightness. And then see also simultaneously that it's appearing in this infinite space of you, of this looking, this empty looking. So there is a contraction that's telling you you've done something wrong, that you're hopeless. And then there is this infinite space that's just a dynamic appearing in spaciousness, in freedom, in emptiness. When the seeking and identification happens, it's that the consciousness and that feeling become one. So it's like, it feels like you are conscious and alive as a hopeless person. There is actually this consciousness, and then there is a looking at that person. Or there is an experiencing of that person. And that experiencing is actually everything, including that dynamic that arises, but it's also the window and the light and the space and the vibration and the sound of the fans, the sound of my voice. It's actually all of that as well. Super delicious. Yes. So if you want to call in, please put call me and nothing else beside it. Hi Carla, sending you love. Guten Abend, Thomas. Wo kommst du, Thomas? Du ist aus Deutschland oder Sweden? Norway. Ah, you just know German. I thought you were out of Norway or Sweden. Yeah, nice. You speak a lot of little German. Yeah, often when I meet Norwegian people, they speak German or a bit of German. Do you learn that in school? We do. Some people do learn German in school in England, but it's mostly French is taught. Nice. Mara, sorry. T. Lisa, love to hear you saying, "This is it, baby." It really helps to keep back to the present moment. Could you please relate more about this non-dual point of view? Thank you for your sharing. Yes, Mara. So this is it means this moment is all there is. And it gets like infinitely complicated and infinitely simple when you go into it. So in quantum physics, dare I say this, I often get emails or messages later telling me I got it wrong. But in quantum physics, there is the idea that particles are in all possibilities until they're looked at. So this is all there is. And then when there's looking there, this is all there is. And what was looked at before goes back to all possibilities, which is nothing, non-existence, and all things. Isn't that mind-blowing? So all that ever is what's happening. And it seems like there is multiple people looking in on this dream, but everybody is having their own unique dream. And I would even go in to suggest that your life is determined by your karma. And that means by the way in which you think and the way in which you feel. And your life goes off in that direction. So if you feel like the king of the universe, then more than likely you'll accumulate lots of wealth and you'll be really successful. I'm not saying that's better. I've realized now from working with many people that accumulating lots of resources comes with a very difficult karma as well, because then everyone wants the resources. So the king comes with, I am the king of the world, but the king comes with an inherent competition because he already thinks, I am the king of the world. So he's already has that feeling that he is better than and superior to other people. So then he's always in competition with everybody. So having lots and lots of resources means he has to keep all those resources and not let somebody else take him down and steal them. So everybody has their karma, and it's sad but it's kind of perfect. So if you have the karma of I am victim, then you will normally always attract perpetrators. And then often the victim, not often, but sometimes then the victim can become the perpetrator. So everybody has their particular karma, and so in Eastern traditions, a lot of it is about working out your karma, which is kind of what's happening in non-duality. So you wake up and your karma is improving, and therefore the external dream is improving. But often we clear out our karma through experiencing that which confronts us. So like the king has to keep confronting this competition around him. He has to maintain being better than everyone. So therefore he's going to constantly be under attack. And that is the lesson for the king. That is one of the lessons for the king. Like confronting that sense of superiority. And for the victim, it's confronting that sense of victimhood. And often that is true, having the perpetrator come in again and again and again. So this is what Eastern traditions mean about our karma in the human life. It's so intelligent and brilliant and beautiful, these Eastern teachings. I come from a mixture of background because I started off in Buddhism and then I went on to Advaita, so it's really mixed. I'm like a fusion restaurant. So I've got Western psychology, Western philosophy, which is freaking rocks, but on its own it's very limited. And then you've got non-duality, the Buddhist practices. It's really like a fusion, and that's what's so amazing about the Eastern traditions come over to the West now, is because they're forming something new. They're taking on the Western flavor, which is beautiful. Like Western culture has so much to offer. Often we're putting it down. But it's so intelligent, all these teachings, and so precise. Oh, I also studied Chinese medicine. So I also went off to China. I've never been to China, but I studied Chinese medicine. And chakras, which is kind of, I don't even think that's Indian. I think that's a fusion between Indian Hinduism and Western psychology again. Okay, thanks Mara. So this is it. So even though I just told you all this story about karma, we actually then come back to this is it, baby. Oop, I nearly spilt my drink then. I'm not going to make it very much longer without the toilet break. Thomas, I think, a second language in high school is, I think Norwegians, Swedish people, Danish people, Dutch people are so good at language. I'm not sure about Finland and who else have we got over there? Sweden. Yeah, I'm not sure about the other Nordic countries. I think it's brilliant to fuse the Eastern tradition with Western psychology and science. It will definitely spawn something new and even better. Yeah, beautiful. It's amazing that the Buddha was talking about atoms like 2,000 years ago, and then we discover them in Western science. Yeah. Hi Lisa, did you try to explain awakening to your parents? Thank you. Hi joyful silence. I had a friend who once said to my mum, she said, I don't feel 70. And he said to her, yeah, because you're not 70. Like when you always have that same feeling as when you were 20, when you were 30, when you were 10, you always have that same internal sense of being, which is ageless. Like your essence is ageless. And she really got it, but I would never dare to share it with her. I would love to, but I think she would, see it as a power game or preaching or something or putting her down. so it's not appropriate. Danke, joyful silence. Dear Lisa, I'm so grateful when connecting to your talks happens. Once in a while, I recognize integration, or rather unveiling of wisdom by welcoming it. It seems a seeking pattern is manifesting on finding a partner. I guess it's just a matter of being with it until finding may or may not happen, right? Hi, Gaia Como. I'm so sorry for the pronunciation of your name. Yeah. Yeah, it will happen when it happens. Finding the partner. And so then you can explore the opposite. Like, what part of me believes that finding a partner will complete me? Like, where is that in me that says I will be completed by finding another person? Because it's not true. Your completion is what you are, which is this empty looking and the I am. This is home. This is the freedom. This is all that's wanted. This is all that's ever wanted. Da da da! So then just feel and just explore it in your body where that appears. So there might be a contraction in the heart, like a fear of loneliness or not connecting. Like, I am alone, I am lonely, no one's going to love me, I'm never going to have a family, nobody hears me or sees me. Like, really connecting to that place in the body where it feels alone. And just exploring what that feels like and what it's saying, what unconscious thoughts are there. And just feeling the feeling of it and seeing that that isn't me. We take that as us. That isn't you. That's a dynamic that's appearing in consciousness. And the idea that by obtaining that will bring you freedom is not true. It will be a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have a partner. But it's not going to complete you. The seeking arises when there's a belief that you are this body-mind and you are incomplete. And you need to do things in order to be complete. And there is nothing you need to do in order to be complete. Nothing. Hello, joyful silence. So your family doesn't watch your live streams? No. Not that I know of. I think My mum said she's watched a few, and she tried to read the book. She tries to be supportive. But in general, no. No. Okay, any more questions? Any more for any more? I can read some questions now in chat because there's none in Skype. So you can put them in chat if you have them, if you don't have Skype. Now is your opportunity. Now is your opportunity. I'm looking. Where is Max says, where is she reading the questions from? Hi Lisa, this is from Hen Luby. What do you say about insanity? I fear it. So in our brains, we have the ability to connect to a collective reality. This is just my interpretation on insanity. There's so many different definitions. So we have like an ability to connect to a collective reality. So I call this window a window, and then somebody else comes in and sees that as a window, and we both have a reference point. And that's the way we've survived, by having a collective view of the world. But everyone has a unique view of the world. It's just that there is a meeting place in where we can talk about the world. And to me, insanity is when your reality diverges from the norm and becomes so far removed from the norm that you can even start seeing different things, like completely different worlds. And it's just part of what the brain is producing. Like, so the brain is producing the world, and it's just what we define as insanity is it's producing a different world from the collective reality. So it's not good or bad, it's just that it often encounters suffering. Not for everybody. Some people go insane or lose their mind. Like my gran, she got dementia, and she became super blissed out, and she was so out of it. Like she was like a child. It was really beautiful to watch. But some people go into hell. And she used to kind of like dream these realities. I don't know if you've ever watched someone with dementia. She used to, think my dad or somebody else was there, or that we'd just been to a picnic. It was kind of like she was falling asleep while being awake. But it doesn't mean that that's any less real than here, because the collective reality, we're all dreaming the collective reality. So this is all a dream. So we are dreaming this here. So it's a bit like with the quantum physics, like this is all possibilities until we look at it. But it's just that our brains are looking at it in similar ways, all these humans. In a way, we might be each individually dreaming up all these humans. There might not be these individual apparent dreams that are happening. Yeah. So I also can see insanity in another way as well. Like I could see insanity in, like, because you can use that word for lots of different ways. So insanity could also be like the absolute belief in the separate self. That is quite insane as well, but it's just because everybody else normalizes it. Like, so this really constricted idea and belief in the self. And then we can get into all types of craziness, you know, when other people are really identified and begin to really believe in that. Okay, I have more questions in Skype now. So if you want to call me, just put "call me, please." Hi, Lisa. Recently I have a sense that life is completely fixed and being played out like a movie. Then there appears to be something separate watching it from afar. Can this be related to it all? Sure. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we both have the same ideas of what that means. Because in a way, that is what's happening. Like everything you do is coming from this unknown place. And it's all predestined in a way. Like it's appearing. So every thought and idea is appearing now. It's just what we have is this idea that it's happening to us and that we can control it or change it. Pardon me, but that is an idea. That's not truth. It is an idea. So there is something that's watching it that's completely unidentified with what's happening. Like everything is appearing and disappearing in that. Without any control. It's just watching. And that watching is all things. Yeah, thanks, Graham. Natalia, thank you for your answer. Thank you for your invitation to call. I would like to call you, but I feel shy to do this. Yeah, just do what you're comfortable with, Natalia. I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable or push you into a trauma or anything. So you do what's comfortable. So if you feel like calling, put "call me" and I will call you. If not, then that's okay too. Anthony. Hi Lisa. Does everyone dream this reality up like together, or is it just my dream? Everybody has their individual dream, but it's one consciousness looking through all these individual dreams. So you could imagine it like a paper bag with lots of holes in it, and then you put a light in the middle, and these little holes each have their personal little karma and dream that they're acting out, but it's one light which is watching everything. So that consciousness that's watching there is watching here. It's the same consciousness. Oh, that's such love. Oh God, that's so beautiful. It's exactly the same consciousness. It's just different dreams are manifesting. And it's the brain which is remembering the dream. The consciousness can't remember the dream. The consciousness is just silently watching from all angles. But to you, the person believes that what I'm talking about is personal and thinks I should know it as a thought. But you can only know it as emptiness, which knows nothing. Just wonderful. Just wonderful. Antonio. The experience of realizing can happen at any time, right? And it is spontaneously revealed that has to happen within you, right? Can I healthily promote the ease of this happening? Thanks, Antonio. I recommend to people to settle down the person, through psychology. So understanding psychology, meditation, yoga, alternative medicines, acupuncture, Ayurvedic massage with Wim Hof, all these different things, like coming to know the body, mind, and really making it more calm, like good diets. So really settling it down so it's at the most peaceful that you can be on the human level. And I feel that's a great thing to do. But that's not like, you've got lots of examples like Byron Katie, Eckhart Tolle, where they went to the epicenter of suffering and then there was a pop. So, but I just feel that, like, when I speak with people, if the person is like really densely suffering, then it's difficult to talk about non-duality. Kind of feels like an avoidance. But when somebody feels happy and blissful, or more happy and excited about life, then it feels like a great time to speak about non-duality. Thank you. Gina, is smoking marijuana always seeking, even if you know it will not bring happiness? No, smoking marijuana is not always seeking. It can be, but no. It can also be a pleasure, like kissing your partner, like making love. What are chakras for? Is there something there that we need to attend to? I get a lot of pressure around them. What is this and what is to be done? So there's loads of, if you go on the internet, there's loads of different healing practices you can do to calm the chakras. All I teach really is becoming conscious of them and conscious of what they're speaking about. But there's also physical exercises you can do, like yoga, and like Osho has loads of exercises you can do, which also help settle them down. But what I teach is to go into the chakra and then let that chakra speak. And I feel like the chakras normally have similar vibrations in all body. So when you've got lots of pressure and pain around the heart, It's that your mind is subconsciously or consciously telling you a lot, that you're lonely, that you're unlovable, that you're going to be abandoned, that you're not good enough. Like, so the heart is all about love. And then each chakra has a different flavor. So the throat is about being heard and speaking. So if you don't speak out and get heard, then that begins to contract. And what happens is most of the time the consciousness and the chakras and the thoughts and the feelings in the body become one and the same thing, and then it becomes this separate entity, this person that we believe ourselves to be. Whereas actually there is the person, and then there is this consciousness which is watching it. And the person isn't who you are, it's a phenomena that is arising in who you are. But when the chakras are really condensed, it often creates a lot of seeking, and so the consciousness is pulled in and it's like narrowly focused on that. It's not really narrowly focused because consciousness can't, but it feels like that. Hi Lisa, is the Buddhist emptiness of self the same as the Hindu higher self? I don't know about the Hindus saying about the higher self. I've never heard them talking about that. But the emptiness of self is the same as what I'm talking about with consciousness. In Buddhism, they would actually say consciousness too is form, which I kind of understand. Like, I do know that and feel that, but I think it's better to teach consciousness because there is actually no consciousness. There is emptiness appearing as all things. But consciousness is a great way to teach it. And then I just feel like you push people into that, and then eventually they'll discover it for themselves, that there is simply emptiness as everything. And consciousness is a function arising in that. But it's so convenient to teach. I used to try and teach more like nothing and everything, and it's so confusing to people. Danke. So yeah, emptiness is the same as non-duality consciousness to me. I don't know for others. But yeah, the Heart Sutra is beautiful, that like names all the senses and says consciousness too is not it. It's emptiness. That's the Heart Sutra. Okay, go back to YouTube and look to see if there's any more questions on YouTube. How to heal social phobia. Could you help guide me through the chakra exercise to find out where it is, please? Yeah, social phobia is super complex, and I don't know if I could simply do that now. It can come from many things early on. It can come from being an empath. You know, like empaths can often get social phobia. So empath is where you feel the other people's feelings and not knowing that. So you could explore and learn that. Social phobia can also come from avoidance, and that is something you'll have learned in the first 5 years of life. You'll have learned through interacting with your parents the best way to deal with other humans is to avoid them, and interacting creates too many problems. So therefore interacting and being vulnerable and attaching properly to people can create a lot of anxiety, because when that was done in childhood, it threatened your life in a way, because in childhood it is life and death. If the parents screw up, you're dead. You're like completely dependent on them. And that's when our brains develop and when they learn these things. So it's not so easy to guide through. You know, like I'd really have to work with you in a one-to-one session, and maybe, you know, quite a few, because you've got to begin to trust me to really open up. You know, it's not like you can just come in and then start speaking to me and be able to admit all these phobias or discomforts. It could also be control stuff, the belief that you are in control of others. And that you need to control others, and it's unsafe if they're not controlled. So then there's like this excessive energy to try to control the other. There could also be this excessive energy that's desperate to please the other. And if you don't do these things, it basically comes down to you dying. You will be killed. And it would have been learnt so early in life. So if consciousness is a function of emptiness, does it cease when we die? That's an amazing question, Amy. So then I would ask to you is, can there ever be non-existence? So if consciousness ceases when we die, then it's presumably non-existence. But can there ever be non-existence? So non-existence is the opposite to not being. So if we replace that with not being, so can not being ever be? Can not being ever be? Yeah, that's like, what's the sound of one hand clapping? But there is kind of an answer to that. I mean, like in the end, everything is I don't know, but it's no. There can never be not being. Just like there can never be being without not being. Oh God, this is too much. But yeah, just contemplate my original question. So if all there is now and everything else is not existing until it is in our awareness, what is the knowing that there are other people existing and men is sitting in the next room? That's thoughts. That's very rapid thinking happening. It doesn't happen for my dog. So with Khaleesi, she doesn't have the ability to conceptualize things into language. And I play games with her to see like what works and what doesn't. And I do things like hide my hand under the cover, and she can't really perceive it's me. She can sort of by smell, but she can't really perceive like my hand going under there and coming out as me, because she can't connect that. So when my hand is under the cover popping up, that's all it is. It's not my hand. And then when my hand comes out again, that is what it is, because she can't think about it. So yeah, when I'm not there, not really with Khaleesi, but with a socially anxious dog, they might be looking for you, because that's what biologically they're set up to do. Their intuition and their instinct is to follow the leader. So when the leader's not there, they're looking for the leader. They're waiting for the leader. But they can't really know that you're gone or that you're coming back. They just have the instinct to look for the leader. So they can't know those two things. Yes, you are right, Lisa. It feels like there is a scared child inside me that needs healing. A good thing to find out about, might be woke, is to look up attachment therapy if you're feeling social anxiety or phobia. There's also like social phobia therapy that you can do, which is tends to be exposure therapy, but attachment therapy might help. Like if you can feel there's a scared child in there, it might be the way in which you're attaching to people. And what attaching means is, it doesn't mean attaching like attachment as in seeking attachment. It means like being able to trust other people and create strong relationships with them. So to be able to properly bond with someone. And that's often because you weren't able to bond with your parents in the first few years of life, so you never really learned how to do that. Yeah. So feels like the end of the world, yeah. Because what we're afraid of ultimately in social phobia, I presume, is abandonment. And abandonment equals to us death in the human world. Because if we don't live in society and we get kicked out, so say if like our societies, if we did something wrong, instead of putting us in jail, they sent us into the wilderness all alone, more than likely we'd die, because we are dependent on society for survival and trading with others for survival. So deep down in, you know, our ancestors and in our history and in our genetics, abandonment from humans means death. So that would tend to be around the heart, abandonment. So that's something that you can look at, is you're in social situations and what you're getting phobic about is death. You're afraid that if you do something wrong, if something happens, you're going to be abandoned, maybe. Empath, blessing or curse in your opinion, of course. Yes, sometimes I feel like it's a bit of a curse, being a very strong empath, in the sense that it can make being in social settings very difficult. And it does give you an ability as an empath to kind of be a bit psychic, but that's kind of like useless because people can't admit it in themselves anyway. So even if you if you can feel that somebody's really angry and you're speaking with them, you can't tell them that because they would never admit it. It would just make them more angry. It can be helpful in my work, but it is like a superpower, but it's really not known in this society. So it's kind of like you have to feel other people's feelings, but you can't really ever talk about it, except otherwise it makes people very angry, except or they think you're boop boop. Except in sessions. I presume that it helps in sessions, but it means that I can only do a limited amount of sessions. I can't, if I wasn't such a strong empath, I presume I could do more sessions. Yeah. Dear Lisa, Regina, what if just descency karma genes, if there happens to be what if it's just descency karma genes, if there happens to be self-realization? Sometimes I think that it's so unfair that some people just get it instantly and others never get it. Sometimes my ego loves to complain and to envy, and the others who realize it, who they really are. Thank you so much for your talks, Regina. Hey, Regina. Yeah. So everything is endless. And at every point, everything's going to wake up. So you look at it in time, so you think they've woken up in time right now, and I've not woken up right now. But it's not really happening like that. That's how it happens in the human imagination. In actuality, there is no time and space between people waking up. So there's nobody that's woken up before you or nobody that wakes up after you. But that's such a confusing concept. How do I explain that? Like, there is only ever waking up right now. So there's nobody that's woken up before you, or no one that wakens up after you. That's all idea and imagination. And then the next part is my ego plane gets and envies you and others who realized who they really are. Like, so then it's like going to the envy and seeing that that's a karma and that it's not true. So envy maybe comes from the heart, and underneath the envy, it's most probably abandonment. I'm not sure in you, it's different for everyone, but it's most probably, if they are better than me, I'm abandoned, I'm not good enough. So then maybe what your ego likes to do is it likes to play higher, lower. I'm better than, I'm worse than, I'm better than, I'm worse than. It's like the king one. I'm better than, I'm worse than, I'm better than, I'm worse than. And this is underneath that, there is the fear of abandonment, the fear of not being good enough to be loved as you are. You're absolutely good enough. You're perfect, just as you are. You're perfect, every part of you. It's so beautiful. Thank you for your question, Nadine. Whoops. Why are my mums? That's not, you know, on the Lisa Cairns YouTube channel. Like when you go to Lisa Cairns. Why are my mums? That's not. Oh dear. I don't know how to. I lost the live stream. But when you go to my channel, it's a picture of Khaleesi and another dog. And that's my mum's dog. And I don't know why that picture went up there today. YouTube's have changed things. Analytics, content. Oh, live. Yeah, I've lost my dashboard. Maybe it's here. I don't know how to get back to the dashboard. Okay. Oh. Yeah. Okay, well, I've messed up now. YouTube settings. Nope. Uploads? No. Yeah, they've changed it all. But, yeah. Doesn't matter. Yeah, we're coming to an end now. Yeah. So that is all. Anything to announce? Nothing to announce that I can think of. Thank you everybody for asking questions and being vulnerable and expressing yourself. I do these talks every Sunday at 6 p.m. French time, but always check my channel and my website beforehand because sometimes I cannot make it, like last week. Yeah. Danke. I wish you everything, not just one thing, two things, three things but everything.